What is disability? Like many, I had very limited knowledge about disability, even after I became disabled. Watch and learn as I talk about the basic issues about disability. Hello, welcome to My So-Called Disabled Life, where I not only talk about my life experiences as a disabled woman, but speak the truth about disability and what it means to live as a disabled person. I am your host, Chaundra McGill, a motivational speaker and a life coach for the disabled. Today, we will be talking about the topic, what is disability? Before I became disabled, I had no idea what disability was. I just thought disability was when you became ill, you can no longer work. Admittedly, my knowledge of disability is still not vast, despite living the past 12 years as a disabled person. The reason for this is because I became consumed with my own disabilities, brain aneurysm, arteriovenous malformation or AVM, brain surgery, stroke, central pain syndrome, uterine fibroid tumors, hysterectomy, multiple myeloma cancer, tumor in spine, rod in back, depression and anxiety. Is that enough for you? Considering I've had enough of my disabilities to think about, I am very unknowledgeable about many of other disabilities that affect people's lives every single day. So let's just start at the very beginning. What is disability? A disability is a continuing condition that restricts everyday activities. The Disability Services Act of 1993 defines disability as meaning 1, it can be intellectual, psychiatric, cognitive, neurological, sensory, or physical impairment, or a combination of those which is permanent or likely to be permanent. 2, may or may not be of a chronic or episodic nature. 3, results in substantially reduced capacity of a person for communication, social interaction, learning, or mobility, and a need for continuing support services. Now, this leads us to break down the various types of disability that affect over 61 million American adults. The main categories of disability are physical, sensory, psychiatric, neurological, cognitive, intellectual. A physical disability is the most common type of disability, followed by intellectual and sensory disability. Physical disability generally relates to disorders of musculoskeletal, circulatory, respiratory, and nervous systems. Sensory disability involves impairment in hearing and vision. Neurological and cognitive disability includes acquired disabilities such as multiple sclerosis or traumatic brain injuries. Intellectual disability includes intellectual and developmental disability, which relate to difficulties with thought processes, learning, communicating, remembering information, and using it appropriately, making judgments and problem solving. Psychiatric disorders resulting in disability may include anxiety disorders, phobias, or depression. As for myself, many people with disability have multiple disabilities. I have a physical disability. I have a very unsteady gait due to the ramifications of my stroke. This makes me more prone to losing my balance and falling. I have skeletal muscle disability. I have a rod in my back. Multiple myeloma cancer caused a tumor to form in my spine, causing my L2 vertebrae to flatten, so doctors put a rod in my back to stabilize my spine. Nervous system disability. I have that as well because I have nerve damage on my face and I have neuropathy on my feet, and that's a result of my stroke. I have neurological disability. I had a brain aneurysm and an AVM in my cerebellum, which is the part of the brain that affects your balance and fine-tuning skills. So I can't hammer a nail. And often I get my nouns mixed up since my stroke. I also have central pain syndrome, which constantly misfires pain signals to my body. I have sensory disabilities. I'm deaf in my right ear, and my right eye has blurred vision because of my stroke. And I have a psychiatric disability. I have been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Considering there is a plethora of disabilities, it still amazes me that we are all clumped into one community, the disabled. Another thing for people to consider is that just because two people have the same impairment, their experiences and limitations are not the same. For instance, I had a stroke. My stroke occurred while I was having brain surgery. Many people have strokes naturally. Some people who have a stroke are wheelchair bound and are unable to speak. Me, I can walk, though my coordination is affected, and you can't get me to shut up. I also have depression and anxiety. There are certain forms of clinical depression that is very hard to treat or completely untreatable. My depression is properly managed. Also, just because you have suicidal thoughts due to your depression does not mean that you will act on it. Unfortunately, in my case, I tried to overdose on Xanax. Here are some staggering numbers that I, a disabled person, had no idea about. 61 million Americans, adults, have disabilities. They live with them. 26%, 1 in 4 of adults, have some sort of disability. The percentage of people living with disabilities is highest in the South. Alabama had the highest level of disabilities at 31.5% of the population, followed closely by Mississippi and Tennessee. It's presumed that so many of the disabilities in these states are disabling results of hypertension and diabetes. It's that good Southern cooking, that's what it is. Disability is especially common in these groups: older adults, women, and minorities. 2 in 5 adults aged 65 and older have a disability. 1 in 4 women have a disability. 2 in 5 non-Hispanic American Indians, Alaskan Natives have a disability. And a few random interesting facts. 50% of disabled persons can't afford health care. Only about 9% of disabilities are caused by accidents, leaving 91% of disabilities being caused by illnesses. As you can see, there are many complexities and dimensions of the word disability. I hope now when you hear the word disability, you now don't think that they are a one-dimensional group. People with disabilities are just as diverse as society itself. I want to leave you with the profound words from Helen Keller. I thank God for my handicaps, for through them I have found myself, my work, and my God. Make sure you tune in to our next episode about sensitivity to disability. Join the My So-Called Disabled Life Facebook page to join in lively discussions about disability. If you're enjoying this video, then join the family by subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell.